another case recently. She was offered $300,000, and within 2 months, she got $3.4 million after working together. She got
Good
an
grief.
alimony lump sum of one something million, which the guy wasn't considering at the time, and then got a lot more of the assets. So it's just like the numbers don't lie. Like once the numbers are
No.
out there, you're exposed, and you're gonna have to account for them.
Licensed attorney, award-winning writer, businessman, entrepreneur, and other over-the-top crap. It's Life and Law with Eugene Cisco Jr.
Hey guys, we're at another edition of Real Life and Law, guys. My name is Eugene. I'm an attorney. I'm also an entrepreneur, and I have a lot of interest. Today, our episode, and I say this a lot, but I promise you, I mean it this time, we have a treat. We have a young lady. Her name is Marissa Greco. She has a wonderful YouTube channel. If you're a young lady and you're going through a divorce, or maybe even a dude, I know a lot of her content is focused mostly toward women, it appears to me. But if you're involved in a marriage and you're contemplating getting a divorce, you're going to want to speak to Miss Marissa. She has a lot of interesting tips. And I'm honestly, I said earlier, I was a little nervous. We're getting a little bit of a pregame here, so you see a little bit behind the curtains. I was a little nervous because I like her stuff. And I've talked to her a little bit, and I really like it. So what I want to do, we're going to chat for a while about divorce, some tips, what to do to get you some of your money back, because I've been a divorce attorney for going on 30 years now. I've seen a lot of crap, and I'm sure Marissa has. So we're going to talk about that right now. So right now, I would like to introduce, for your listening and maybe your viewing pleasure, Miss Marissa Greco. So Marissa, introduce yourself, please, baby.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. Yes, I am talking about divorce all day, every day. Right now, I'm actively working about 140 divorce cases, and mostly those cases are with women, but I do work with men as well. And I help people all in U.S. states. The good thing about financials is they don't change too much state to state. So,
No.
yeah, my work is really digging into the financials and seeing what is best for my client long-term financially, how to split the assets, and really how to negotiate and get the best deal possible while getting through the divorce in the quickest way possible and not spending as much money. Because we all know, I posted yesterday actually a TikTok, and people were telling me they've spent 300 grand, 150 grand, 20 grand. It's crazy what is being spent on divorce.
I get that a lot. So when I talk to people, and I'm going to get back to you here in a minute, but when I talk to people, that's one of the things, and I go live on TikTok in the mornings, usually between 6 and 9. And one of the things is I'm amazed as an attorney, I'm a practitioner, I've been doing this a while, and I'm not real high. You hear these people talking, they spending 20, 30 grand. I said, where the hell was I when they were looking for a lawyer? That's what I want to know. I want to get me some of that cash, it's not there where I'm at. I don't know if people are overinflating what they spent. I've done divorces for doctors and lawyers, and 30 grand, I don't see it. But anyway, this will get back to you. So you talk to them about those things. So tell us a little bit about your business, how you started. I want to know how you started your business. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. So first off, maybe to take this in sequence, what's your credentials? Give us a little background of what your formal education and training is.
Sure. So I'm a licensed financial planner. So I have like my Series 7, Series 66, life and health insurance. And I do own a family financial firm with my dad, my brother, and my sister. And we service over 350 clients. So that's how I got started.
Working with family, that sometimes
it is a tough one. It is a tough one. For the most part, we get along, but there's those days.
Yeah.
And then from there, I started seeing that women started coming to me and were like, can you help me with my divorce? Like, I don't know what I should be getting financially. I don't know what I should be asking for. I don't know how to know like what my budget should be and what can I afford. So that kind of just naturally started happening. And then I started making a lot of educational videos for divorced women. And then from there, it's kind of taken off where now I'm helping over 140 women negotiate their case. And I have a membership community with 350 women in it to learn about divorce. I'm also coming out with a course and some other resources for people who may not be able to afford my services.
Divorce, and I've seen it for 25 years. It's like that train coming down the track. By golly, you know it's going to happen. You see it happening for years. Most of the time when people come in my office, it might be too late already.
Yeah.
They should have done it. It's like bankruptcy. I've done bankruptcies for people. When they actually come into my office, they should have came in months ago, years ago.
Agreed.
So when you get to somebody, so what is your I kind of lost my train of thought, but what's your formal education on this? You went through your training. What's your formal education?
So I'm a CDFA, which is a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. And so basically that just means I can help in divorce and be an expert witness to look at how the finances should be split and what my client's budget is and filling out the financial affidavit and those kinds of things.
So you would evaluate the income tax returns, the bank statements, check stubs, and all that. So when I found my train of thought. So I went on a little bit before. So when people come into my office, I tell them, and when I talk to them on TikTok and a lot of my social media, I say the best thing you can do when you see that train coming down the track is prepare now.
Exactly.
Prepare before you get that petition filed. The more work you do up front, right, the easier it is later. So is that your experience?
That is my experience, and that's where I play a heavy role in all that preparation. So I help them gather all the documents they need, start getting it on paper, start looking at the banks and the credit cards to see, is there accounts we don't know about? Start comparing the tax returns and the pay stubs and the income. So yeah, I'm jumping into all the data.
So if you had to guess, and you may get this, I get it a lot. Well, they're hiding money. They're hiding money. And sadly, there's a number of people, and the money really isn't there. It never was there. They think it was. Sometimes if you're a partner in a relationship, you don't always know what's out there. You think you do. And so when it comes to hiding money, it's my opinion, and you talk about this, it's awful damn hard to hide money nowadays. It really is. So is that true in your experience? And what are some tips if you're out there listening or watching, what are some things to look for and how can someone discover hidden money?
Good question. So I do think people are hiding assets and not disclosing assets. A lot of my clients struggle with getting the financial documents from their spouse. Yeah. And the spouse, for some reason, just feels like they're above the law. I don't have to hand over these documents. I don't know what it is. And then my clients got to do all these other runarounds to try to get the documents. So if you are in a relationship, the first thing I suggest is know where your finances are. Like, have access to all your accounts so that you know where everything is. A lot of the people get in trouble had no access to anything. And then the spouse won't give it over.
And that's so sad when you see a relationship. Now, my wife and I have a relationship. We've been married, almost 40 years. I don't get her involved in my business affairs. She doesn't really know. She knows generally, but she doesn't really know. She's not on my business accounts. So in that situation, you've got a situation where you could really leave a spouse high and dry.
Oh, yeah.
For a long time and basically try to starve them out. And I see that a lot.
That happens a lot.
How common is that situation?
Very common. That's why the first thing I tell my clients before they go to file or tell their spouse they want a divorce, I'm like, take half the bank account, take half the joint accounts. They're 50% rightfully yours. Take them because they will cut you off.
I told someone that on TikTok the other day. I was just talking and I said, listen, if you know that shit's happening, coming down the road, you see it coming, get to the bank and get your half. And then someone chimed in, well, the judge will make you give it back. No, they might make you give half. I always said take half.
Take
and
your
if
half.
the judge makes you take it back, give it back temporarily, then do that. But get your half first, because you can wake up one day and not get shit in your bank account.
Yeah, and then, the lawyers try to get temp alimony if you have no income coming in, but that can take months. And so you can be just creating all this debt, living with friends. I've seen it all, but yeah, you really need to get access to cash, number one.
Or as I say, I'm an old hillbilly, so I always tell people squirrel some money away, right? Squirrel it away, nickel and dime it, and if you're if they're letting you pay the bills, maybe
exactly
pay your T-Mobile bill, but not pay it. Stick some money in your pocket. Or, and I'm not trying to tell people to break the law, but there are certainly ways, because it's once you're married, if you're still married, you are entitled to half that money. In most states, it's half. So you're not taking anything. You're just getting your share first.
Exactly.
So these hidden accounts give me a couple of examples of some of the ways that you've seen in your practice, the most common ways that people will hide. I call it money, but assets is another way to say it, that they hide assets. Give me a couple of the most common ways that you've seen in your practice that people, so people can kind of get a heads up and be looking right now for some places. So what are some couple
Yeah, I
areas?
can give you tons of examples.
Yeah, well, let them roll. I'll shut my mouth. You let it roll.
So recently I had a client, her attorney wanted her to go into mediation and settle for about like $2 million. And I'm like, you know what? We need to look at all the bank transactions and see how much. This guy has like 15 businesses. So I'm like, we need to go through the bank transactions. We need to see how much money's moving in and out. I put together what is called like a waste claim, where you're looking at every transaction for the last few years from all the bank accounts, all the credit cards, and see where is money moving. We find out about like 5 other businesses we didn't know. There's like hundreds of thousands of dollars going in and out, and millions of dollars over the years. And I'm like, you can't settle for $2 million. There's millions of dollars going in and out to different businesses, different people being wired there, being wired here. And, now we really got to get forensic involved and maybe a business evaluator. And it's like, if you don't do that due diligence, potentially you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So always look at the bank transactions and the credit cards to see where money's moving.
I'll be darned. Did you get that guy's name? I might marry him, and then we'll see what happens. I had a doctor once. I was doing his divorce, and he was such a nice man. And he was giving the wife everything. And as a lawyer, I'm like, come on, buddy. This is what the law is. You don't have to do that.
You don't have to give everything.
He was adamant. I'm paying for her, which wasn't even his child, her child's car, the insurance. I'm giving her this $750,000 home. I'm going to give her around $16,000 a month. I finally said, Chris, I know the guy personally, a good friend of mine. I said, Chris, damn it, marry me. I won't be near as expensive. I promise you. Just marry me. I won't even sleep in your bed. Just marry me. If you're going to take care of her, you take care of me. So this dude sounded like somebody I could probably marry.
Yeah, I think you could.
When you look at the bank statements, but how is that going to fix the problem of, or is it like a snowball? Once you get the bank statements, you see where this money is moving, and then you track that lead down. Is that the way that works?
And then you're like, who is this person? What is this business? And that gives you the ability to come back and ask questions, especially if you want to do it in like an interrogatory form, right? Where you're asking all these questions like, why did you wire this person $250K on this date? What is this business?
Yeah, you're talking. So now when you look at the law part of it, those interrogatories are sworn statements.
Exactly.
So if you send all those questions out to somebody and you already have some information, and when you send that question out, tell me if you have any banks in Argentina. And if they've got a bank in Argentina, go, oh shit, they know they've got.
Yeah, if they say no,
a bank
then you
account.
just caught them in a lie.
Yeah, and then the judge will punish them, and then once you realize, yeah, so you send those interrogatories out. They're going to know what you know, but even if you don't know, you send it out, and then they still have to
Respond.
bring the statements, bring the evidence, because you
Exactly.
got those subpoenas, ducas tecum, or in Kentucky we call them a ducas tecum. So you subpoena the documents, right, and get all of that. So when you get involved in that and you're tracking down money, what's a general time frame? Because really they could starve somebody out, right? They could starve somebody out. So what's the time frame generally from the time, if it's so this one dude's divorce case, let's wrap that up just a little bit. So this dude that was worth millions of dollars, how long did it take for that case to resolve? This, because that seems like a complicated case, probably worst case scenario. So how long did it take for that case to?
I mean, those types of cases can take 2 to 3 years because you got to get forensic to track all the money. You might have to get a business evaluation for all the businesses, and they're not being honest about things and disclosing things. So it becomes really, really challenging and can take a long time.
And that's where getting a quick motion, of course, you're not an attorney, but I'm sure you've seen these motions for temporary support and
Yep,
maintenance and all
exactly.
of that.
Hmm.
Cool. So when you have to, do you, so you, what's your relationships with the lawyers? So which lawyer do you work with the most, or how do you navigate that particular thing? So if a lady comes into your office and wants to hire you and use your services, but she has an attorney, what do you do? I mean, how do you work that mechanically?
I introduce myself to the attorney and I try to show them that I'm going to be a good team member and I'm going to bring a lot to the table that they can use to go do their law thing. But at the end of the day, some lawyers, not all, but some get intimidated because they don't want someone really looking over their back. Um, and
I
that,
can
that,
see, I
yeah.
can see where that will be a problem.
Hmm. So that can become more challenging, but ultimately they usually end up seeing my value and they're like, good, let's leverage both angles, law and finances, to get you the best deal possible.
I mean, I would love it having you on my side, uh, to say, first off, it takes a lot of the work off me.
Exactly. It takes the work off you. You're going to know everything. You're going to know the finances. You're going to know their budget. You're going to know the bank transactions and all the things going on.
And truth be told, a lot of lawyers, even though they might do family law, they don't really like it. And there's certain parts of it they don't like. And looking for assets and tracking stuff down is a grind.
Yeah, they don't
And
like that.
it's labor intensive. That would be something I don't like. So I would rather employ someone so I could see the value in that. But I also see where a lawyer would like, shit, I don't want her looking over my shoulder telling me
What to do.
what to do, how to practice my case. So you probably put that out front first, right?
Yeah, I'm like, listen, I'm focusing on the finances. That's what I'm good at. I'm going to help them with their long term plan and also look through the current finances, give you all the information, and then let you do your thing.
So give me. So we talked about the most complicated case. Is that fair to say that the case you had with the dude that was hiding millions of dollars? Give us the outcome. Give us the outcome of that. What happened? I know we're not talking names or anything, but what was the outcome in that case?
The outcome is when you get into the data and they have to be exposed essentially with that data, right? You're exposing them. Like you have multiple businesses, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars running in and out. So what he originally came to the table with was like $2 million in a small alimony amount. He had to change that offer dramatically based on what we found.
Because he didn't want that. Because sometimes I know what I have done in a divorce when I found some things that didn't look quite right. I went to the other party and say, listen, the other party's lawyer, and say, listen, I got some shit here.
Yeah,
I'm not sure your dude's wanting this to be out on Front Street. And if you persist and we make a hearing out of this, there is nobody going to look good here, and I don't give a shit. Is usually the way that I say it, and it will
exactly.
bring you get some leverage, right? Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So
Leverage.
so the amount that the first initial pass at 2 million ultimately ended up as what?
Around 6 million.
Holy cow! Did she get equity in any of the properties or any of that stuff, or
Mm-hmm.
she just cashed out?
Yeah. I mean, she didn't want a lot of the properties, so she just took the cash. Some were sold.
Good for you.
Um,
I'm gonna give you a golf clap on that, man. That was
I
I
have a
always
lot
give
of cases like that. I had another case recently. She was offered 300,000, and within 2 months she got 3.4 million after working together. She got
good
an
grief.
alimony lump sum of one something million, which the guy wasn't considering at the time. And then got a lot more of the assets. So it's just like the numbers don't lie. Like once the numbers are
No.
out there, you're exposed and you're gonna have to account
And
for
most
them.
people don't want that. They don't want to be dragged through court. They don't want it out there
No,
in
they
the
don't want all
public
their business
domain.
out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if they're high conflict, they definitely don't want the abuse or things going on.
So on the other extreme of that, have you had clients that come into you and paid you for your services and they honestly believed there was a pot of gold out there that they were being shielded from?
Yeah.
Did you have to actually have that conversation with them say, "Hey, it ain't there"?
That's a hard one because yeah, like you said, they believe they should be getting so much more, but the couple's already not in a good financial standpoint to begin with.
Yeah.
And so you can't recover from not a good financial standpoint. You're in hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You're not going to walk out with $1 million. It's just
Yeah.
not how it works.
And a lot of people see that big shiny business that their spouse has, but they might not know that that damn business is underwater.
Exactly. Or that it's not sellable. Or there's a lot of, different things when it comes to businesses. One thing is what are the expenses it takes to run to that business, right? Like
Yeah.
they might be earning 200K, but they might also be spending 200K and it earns nothing.
Yeah. And as a, as an attorney, you get all kinds of that stuff, and your heart breaks for people. And one of the worst, because particularly when people think they're entitled to money, and they believe they're entitled, and they might in fact be titled if the money's there, and they come into my office. I see it a lot with wills and trusts and money when someone passes, and they've looked for years for money or a will that isn't
Hmm.
there. And
Yeah.
I have to say to them, and I'm so sorry, it's just not there. If there was a document, we would have seen it, right? And so you really hurt for people when they're in a bad way, and it just ain't there. And then you have to tell them. So you've experienced that, I suppose, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And with some of the situations I have with clients who have a lot of debt and they've asked that their spouse pay half their debt because it was
Yeah,
marital, well, then the
yeah,
spouse is now defaulting on that debt. And now my client's credit score is going down dramatically. So it's like this never ending cycle of like debt and bad credit. And you start there and you end there. And then it's hard to pull out of. So I almost tell people, like, if you don't feel like your spouse can pay the debt, don't give them your debt because it's going to ruin your credit.
yeah. Or so this happens a lot, and I'm not sure how much work you do on the back end of a divorce, because a lot of times they'll exchange debt. I see this all the time as a tactic. I'll take all the debt. Give me the debt. I just want out of the relationship. Give me all the damn debt. I'll pay
Yeah.
everything. I'll pay the damn credit cards. I will cut off my arm. Just let
Just
me
get me
out of
out.
here. And later, they default on the debt. They wind up filing bankruptcy. Then it forces the other spouse
To get involved.
to file a bankruptcy.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you've done this, but I always counsel my clients when they come in. I said, listen, I know y'all hate each other's damn guts, but let's do this. One of the last things that I think you should do is file a bankruptcy, because you look at their financials and you know they ain't got a pot to piss in, and they ain't got no hope of buying a pot to piss in. So I have to have that conversation with them and say, listen, one of the last acts you all should do as a couple, file bankruptcy. And then let's put this divorce on hold. You file your bankruptcy, you get you a discharge, and then you get your bankruptcy.
That's a really good advice. Yeah.
It's just because, but as a matter of strategy, I've had clients come into me and say, I want to take all the debt and later on I'm going to file bankruptcy. It's not illegal, but they're trying to get another dig in, at the spouse. And it
Yes.
cause they're going to pay $1,500 for a bankruptcy later on, and they don't care. They just want to inflict pain, which is wrong. I always counsel against it, but it's not out of bounds. It's not out of bounds of the law. So it gets dirty, right? I mean, it gets dirty.
It does.
So speaking of dirty, let's talk about dirt. I know a lot of people tuning in. So divorce is nasty. It is nasty.
It's ugly.
In the best of situations, it's bad. So talk some dirt. Give me a couple of things that you've seen that you're like was jaw dropping. Holy shit. Like that kind of thing. Give us everybody out there listening and watching, give us a couple of things that you have run across that absolutely was shocking.
I think it comes back mostly to cheating, infidelity, and then actual abuse, actual like domestic violence and those type of things going on. And both of them are terrible.
Yes.
Partners not knowing that their partner is cheating on them for like last 20, 30 years, things like that. Or they cheated and now they're already marrying someone new while they're going through the divorce. That happens all the time. And then
which is against the law, right? If they're married,
or they're basically waiting till they're divorced and gonna get married the next day, kind of thing.
What's happening. Yeah, they're shacking. Yeah. And then just waiting until that paper comes in and then they're done.
Exactly. That's happening a lot. And then I would say a lot of abuse, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental abuse, which I didn't know before I got into this market.
Yeah. Oh, so when you see that though, because those things are separate now, in some states you can collect for that kind of behavior. You can get extra, right? You can add that into complaint and get extra. Some states, what they call a fault state, there are about 23 of them. And if you claim fault and can prove it, you can get a little extra on the back end, right?
Exactly.
So when it comes to that kind of stuff, so was it shocking? Was the abuse shocking, or the people that were engaged in it? Because I've had clients come in my office and you're like, holy, I didn't know they were doing that kind of shit, because when you get a divorce, I'm sure you're dealing with ladies, and I'm not trying to be chauvinistic, but I am, so I can't help it. Your chicks talk, right? Ladies talk. Mm-hmm. They talk different than dudes. So you're going to get some crap that you probably didn't want to hear, right? You can't unhear it.
I can't unhear some of it. Mm-hmm.
And so is it the thing or the people that are involved that shock you more?
It's both.
Yeah.
I've had clients even put doozies on me where they're dating someone and I don't know. And as soon as we get out of the divorce, they're like, I'm getting married. I'm like, what? I didn't know that the whole
time. and you're trying to help them and they're not disclosing that.
They're not disclosing it. Yeah.
And I'm
like, now it makes sense that you wanted lump sum alimony because you can't get remarried and continue to get alimony.
Yeah, which is a big deal. I tell that to people all the time. If you're going to get alimony, you got to cool your heels a little bit when it comes to the next relationship, because you might not be able to get your money.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So have you had what you would, because people ask me this a lot, tell me the highest profile case you ever had. Well, it's all relative. Like, I live in a small town. I've represented some locally famous people. I've represented local famous people's family members. So have you ever got caught in that trap before of turning something down because they were too well known in your area, or does that bother you?
Not yet. I mean, I work a lot of high net worth cases where I'm talking 40, 50 million plus dollars involved in that case being split.
Again, get me some of those names. I want to marry some of them. So I'm gonna renew my request. So you've had a fair amount of those, and
oh yeah,
and you're not afraid to take on that issue?
No, I actually like those cases better.
So how often are you called? So we talked a little bit earlier about the leveraging of the information that you have, which is important. As a lawyer, you always look for information that you can leverage. So when you have information that you can leverage, um, how often have you gone to court actually and had to testify when someone says they're going to call your bluff? I don't know that you're going to want to go to court. So how often do you actually go to court and actually testify?
I don't often. Normally, what is happening is I'm in a lot of mediations where people are trying to negotiate, and it's like, here's what I found, and then they'll call me during the mediation and be like, Marissa, should I accept this deal? And I'm like, heck no, we got to go back with this, or so it's a lot of mediation work I'm doing actually with couples. Some couples just want to talk to me and split things financially, and then also with the lawyers calling me and be like, should we accept this deal
Yeah. Okay.
from a financial perspective?
Because they understand, again, we go back to the value and the stuff that you bring to the table. They know that you know the numbers probably better than them
Exactly.
because they have a shitload of cases and they've not really, if they have given that responsibility to you, they're going to trust your advice and opinion and guidance on that settlement, correct?
Yeah, and a lot of them, like their client wants to call me in at that point and be like, here's what we've been offered. What do you think? So
But testifying can be unnerving. Have you testified before in
I
court?
haven't yet. I haven't had to yet.
Okay.
Most of my cases settle and mediate. I mean, only 5% of divorce cases go to court,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
they don't.
yeah, there's not a lot of cases going to court. Majority of mine settle in mediation with lawyers.
Even when, like I tell people all the time now, you said 2 to 3 years on a very complicated case, and that I think that happens if because one party can certainly drag it out, but if you look at a lot of these even high profile celebrity cases, they don't wait 2 years to divorce. Their divorce process does not last long at all.
Well, I almost find the higher net worth clients move faster. And I think it's just because potentially there's enough money for both parties to continue to live and move on. Where in these smaller cases, it's like you're fighting for every dollar because you need it.
Yeah, and the risk versus reward is higher for a big high profile because they don't want their shit out. Like
Exactly. They don't want it out.
if you look
Exactly.
at Johnny Depp and all of that circus that was around there, I mean, I bet you if you could go back in the Wayback Machine and both of those parties knowing what they know now, they ain't doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I just had a case where it was really high net worth. He had cheated on my client and already was with a new woman, wants to get married right away. So he's motivated to settle fast.
Which is good for you.
Yeah, good for
So
me.
your fee structure, do you get a percentage of what you find? Do you get a percentage of your case? How is that structured so that people out there will know?
Right now, I just do a flat fee. And I do that at one, knowing that the lawyers a lot of them are being ridiculous in how they're charging. And
Yeah.
and then in transparency on the back end, I own a financial firm. So a lot of my clients pay my lower cost
Oh,
upfront fee, but then they get, 500 grand, $1 million, whatever it is on the backside. And they're like, Marissa, can you help me managing this long term?
okay. You are like you have done so in your business, you have found a way to potentially have a repeat customer on the back end and say to them, listen, I'm going to work hard for you. I'm going to get you your money. But here's some of the things I offer later. We'll talk about that later. But this is some of the services I can take care of your money, take care of it. So you found a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You get another golf clap for that.
Thank you.
Very good business sense. If you're out there, guys, find a way to take your client and find other services once you're done with one service that they can utilize it. So you've done a really, really good job with that. Very good. What's your conversion rate on that? So you do a divorce for someone, you find a pile of money for them. What's your rate if you could put a figure on it that they would come back to you and want you to take care of their money?
Well, because I just started really getting into this divorce thing a year ago, a lot of my clients are still in the divorce process. Only a
Holy
few have
cow.
actually settled within that year, and they have become clients, but I don't think I have the best numbers for that just because I'm still in it with a lot of them.
Yeah, okay. So, and that's true. I think when I looked at you on TikTok, how many followers do you have, by the way? Just so people will know.
I
Do you
think
have, do you,
46,000, something like
very
that.
good. Very good. So you're brand new in this, what, 8 months, I think 9 months? Has it been a year yet? You said a
It's been
year?
1 year, but like I didn't really start doing the consulting till like January, so
Okay,
not
so
too
you're
long at all.
okay, good for you. So you've done that, you get your clients in, you work, you find money for them that they didn't have.
Exactly.
So when I change my clothes from fall to winter, from winter to summer, I'll have some slacks that maybe I only wore once and they're in the back of my closet. So I get my clothes out each season and I get them dry cleaned or I launder them. I put my hands in my pocket. Shit, I found $5. Makes me feel the best in the world. So when you get someone, what is their reaction when this person suspects, I know there's money out there, and then you actually show them proof of the money? What's that reaction like?
I mean, a lot of times it's like I couldn't have done this if you weren't here. Like you were more helpful than anyone on my team, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and they'll fuss at their lawyers too, true. So that is really too, because it's like found money. I mean, they suspect it. You know, uh, I know that when I go through my clothes, when I get back to Kentucky and get out all my winter stuff and I get ready to get it, as I'm in Florida now. So when I go back to Kentucky, I go through my clothes. I know I'm going to find me some money. I don't know how much. I ain't holding my breath for it, but I suspect there's
I
money
mean,
there.
every case I can find money with something, whether it's doing like marital waste claims because their spouse is cheating, you can ask for half of that back.
Yeah.
Or, I had one spouse telling my client that $1 million was premarital, but no one asked for
Yeah.
evidence.
Yeah. That's always the big one. I had that before we got married.
Exactly. Like no one asked for statements to see like what was the value of that on the date of the marriage. So I asked for it and it turns out he's lying the whole time. So that $1 million was brought back in. So things like that, there's just things I pick up on. I'm like, no, that's not right. And can follow the trail down the road to get it brought back in.
So have you, and I had on my list of things, so one more little topic. Have you dealt with prenuptials in a relationship, and how does that impact what you do? So I'm coming in as a client, or my wife is coming to you, my soon to be um, former wife is coming to you, and she says, but he tells me good luck because we have a prenup. So how do you deal with that kind of case?
I have a lot of prenups being looked at, meaning a lot of them not holding up actually. I just don't feel like they're being done in the proper way. Like they're almost being thrown at someone like 2 days before they're going to get married without attorneys involved and etc. And a lot of them are being thrown out.
So they're patently unfair. What you've noticed
Hmm.
is there's an unfair bargaining, because that is when you do a prenup, you have to put the person on notice, and they're supposed to kind of know what everybody's supposed to disclose what their stuff is, what their worth is, right?
Exactly.
And that's where that stuff falls apart. Someone's always going to try to lie and deceive,
Yeah, they're trying to just deceive, get you to sign off on something 2 days before you get married with no lawyers present.
which is all. I mean, you can do it. Yeah, someone asked me that question just the other day. Said, "Well, do you have to wait 6 months to do a prenup?" Now, every state might be some state might have that requirement, but as I know, it's a contract. And if you do a prenup, and as long as you are not trying to be fraudulent and everybody lays their cards on the table, I don't think a day before it makes me. If I'm a lawyer and I see that, I'm looking at it a little side-eyed, and I'm probably going to dig a little deeper and look at it. But
Hmm.
there's nothing really wrong with it. It just looks bad,
Yeah,
and that's where the form, like you were talking about, that you just feel in your gut that it's wrong, and so you start digging a little deeper, right?
exactly.
Give me three things. Three things. We talked some of them, but anything differently, or just give me three things that someone should do that will be a game changer before they come into your office? Three things that are an absolute game changer before they try to seek your services.
Well, number one is having access to the financials. So if you can get access to your bank accounts and your tax returns and your investment accounts and all the credit cards and all those things, that is game changing, because now you're working with data right off the beginning, and you can tell your spouse, like, I know about XYZ, right? Where you get into trouble is when you know none of that. And now you're relying on your spouse to hand it all over.
And it's so when you talk about that, are there certain ways? So if I'm a spouse and I haven't been very diligent, I've trusted, how that goes, and they've handled everything. So how do I start to find that stuff? I mean, the tax returns might be easier because I've signed them, right? So I can probably get that information. So what about this other stuff? What are some quick, easy ways that people can get access to those financials?
I mean, mail, old paperwork, files. Now the problem is, with everything being digital, it gets harder, because then you need to essentially get into your spouse's email to potentially
Yeah.
be getting statements. But I would start with mail or anything lying around the house that you can get access to. Talk to your investment advisors, talk to your CPAs if you have them. Like you said, if you're joint on things, they have to give it over to you.
Yeah. So that's a good place to start. So we're looking at financials. So after financials, what else can someone do before they come into your office to enhance their position?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but getting cash, right? You're going to have to pay a lawyer. You're going to have to pay different experts. You're going to have to live on your own. And if your spouse cuts you off, what are you going to do? So building side cash into a side bank, getting extra credit cards that they're not on, creating a separate email, creating a new PO box, like basically starting to separate before you're even going there.
Good job. I never thought about the separate email accounts and
Uh-huh.
maybe having a separate bank account.
And PO
Uh,
box to mail things to, things like that. Yeah.
yeah, good job. So that's really, really, really valuable information. So just do the work and snoop around a little bit. One of the things I always try to tell people, and you might, so it's kind of similar to just making sure you get your half. And I always tell, don't worry. We talked about this earlier, but don't worry about, guys. So that's the second thing we do: get you some cash. Get you some cash, and don't worry about if you have to pay it back. You're entitled to half. You're entitled to have. So get it. If a judge asks you to give it back, you have to deal with that later. But it's probably, if as long as you take half and you track what you spent, keep track, keep receipt. So what about other things like automobiles and houses and things of that? How do you handle those kind of assets?
I mean, those you're trying to be on the title if you can, because that shows ownership, right? If you're on the deed of the house or you're on the title of the car, that shows ownership. So that might be one thing you'd want to discuss with your spouse if you're not on certain assets, getting on them.
And so do you ever consult people and try to would it be a good idea for them to take Facebook maybe screenshots of Facebook messages or text messages that will try to prove that they are living here, they're going on vacation there, or they've done this or done that? Is that also a
Yeah,
good
of course.
idea?
I mean, text messages, social. I just had a client who, she was claiming that she was unwell, and they were like, well, from your Facebook, we can see you're traveling XYZ, so you're not. So they are going to look at your Facebook, and they are going to look at the text message. It's all evidence. So, like, while you're going through this, do not post anywhere. Do not say anything insane. It's just not worth it.
Exactly. I tell people get off social media. So
Yeah, I would just get off in general if you could.
yeah, when they do those, when you start those new accounts and start that new separation, I think, and that might be healthy too, because what you're doing there is you're mentally preparing that person to be by themselves.
Mm-hmm. Starting to separate, starting to be on your own.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and let people know what's happening to people that's really close to you. I think what's also important is start trying to develop your network.
Agreed.
really good friends and support system, because you're going to need it, right? It's just tough. Divorce is tough, even in the best situation, right?
Exactly.
So, one last thing. Is there anything that I missed that we maybe I didn't ask you about that you'd like everybody to know about the divorce and finances part of what you do that we didn't cover? Anything that you'd like for people to know?
One thing I would say with alimony and child support, I feel like a lot of women bank on that and rely on getting alimony and child support. I know one that they're starting to crack down on giving so much alimony and child support. And also, two, there's so many things that can stop that alimony from coming. Like we talked about earlier, if you get remarried, alimony's gone. If your spouse dies, alimony's gone. If your spouse who's paying gets disabled and loses their job, alimony's gone. If they get fired, gone, right? Like, so there are a lot of things that can happen. So I would say not to bank on those things. And if you can get it in a lump sum, definitely do it, because then you're not worried about all those things happen. And if you are going to get it on a monthly basis, then I would try to require that your spouse has a life insurance policy where you're the beneficiary, so you get paid out the alimony and child support if they die, and that they also hold a disability policy. If they're to get disabled, they still have income coming in.
Yeah. And so all that is sound information. The beneficiary, I actually never thought about that. Also, if they're in the workplace, getting part of their retirement, which is in a divorce, is a whole nother. The
Whole nother.
quadros.
We could talk 2 hours just about retirement and divorce.
You did something on the quadro. I think you did a TikTok on the quadro. And as an attorney, we hate those things. We don't like them.
I hate those things.
They suck. They vary from company to company, and they're a pain in the ass to fill out.
Exactly.
And I don't like them. I hate them. So all of those things. Do you have a checklist on your social media of things to people to look out for, things they can kind of do on your page?
In my membership communities, and the course I'm going to be coming out with. Yeah, there's all kinds of resources in there. And in the course, I'm going to be providing like what I do for my one-on-one clients, but you can go DIY yourself and do it. Now, obviously, you need the tools to do that. So what I've done is like created all the tools so you can start using them. Like, here's your budget. Here's how to fill out the financial affidavit. Here's how to split assets, those types of things.
So you have essentially the documents that they're going to need, the information they need. They can do it themselves, or they can hire you and engage you and get you to do that process for them, right?
Exactly.
I forgot to ask this. I always like to ask this. What's the part of your job that you don't really like? I mean, we all have jobs that, I won't say you hate it, because you do it. If you hated it, you wouldn't do it. That you like the least. There's things that I do that I like the least. So what are some of the things that you do and all of the services you provide that you would like to farm out if you could?
I love talking strategy. I love helping my clients one-on-one. I love doing the marketing and education and all of that. I don't like being in the weeds. So I try to hire people to be in the weeds for me, of like, entering data and those types of things. So I try to stay high level and with my strategy, and then get other people to help me with that kind of stuff.
Do you, because those are like the more tedious
They're tedious.
They're time consuming, and it takes away from your value to do other things, right?
Exactly.
So what about mediations? Or do you like mediation?
I like it when I'm representing one client. I don't love working with spouse, and it's very hard to stay neutral. So I don't know how mediators do it, but they do it. But like,
see, I love mediating. I took a course on it. I'm a certified mediator, and I actually have a really weird knack.
You gotta have a knack
for doing it. And in my class, I'm gonna brag a little bit. In my class, there was about 40 of us. And we had to do these mock mediators. But now I've lived a life, and I've been in the middle of a lot of weird shit in my life. So I've been fairly good at mediating. And as an attorney, I've been a prosecutor and defense lawyer. And so we went through it, and I went through it with a buddy of mine, and she ranked us all and put it out on old school, put it out on a board. And I was number 2 in the class for mediating because I just like it. I enjoy
you have to enjoy it.
I enjoy helping people come to a resolution. Now, it might not be the one they want, but it's always the one that I said, listen, you're not going to like this. It's not going to be perfect. But if you swallow hard and you can do it, it's probably a good idea, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that part of it, and you kind of not so much with both of them. You want to be an advocate.
I do.
Okay, well, good for you. And I think if anybody is out there and they want to look her up, again, how can people find you?
It's called @GetDivorceReady. So you can find my TikTok or my Instagram @GetDivorceReady. And
we're going to put links to your stuff in our description so people can get this on YouTube and podcast this to me. So I want to thank you. Unless there's anything else you want to say, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're busy.
No, thank you for having me.
And we got a small channel. We're growing. I push it out all the time. And I hope if you're involved in a situation, like I said, divorce is one of those things, man. Very seldom do you not see it coming. I've seen people come in my office and say they were completely blindsided, but they just didn't look good enough. They were on that denial river, right?
Yeah, it's more denial, I think.
And they were just ignored it. So it's one of those things is happening. Defend yourself, prepare yourself, get hold of Marissa. If you think this cat has got a bunch of bucks and they're squirreling it away, get hold of Marissa, let her team help you. And listen, thank you for what you've done. Thank you for the service you provide to people. And I really appreciate it. And I hope, listen, I'm always in for a job. You want me to engage on some mediation
your way all day.
I love mediating. And lawyers like it too. Lawyers would rather shuttle angry clients off to a third party. So I'm actually sitting for my national certification in about 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, I'm already certified, but I want to get a national certification. That might help me out a little bit. So Marissa, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you all enjoyed it. And so listen, I always say this, guys, whenever your life and law get all fouled up, as we say in the mountains, when they get all entangled and you don't know what to do, give me a holler. And if you're an old hillbilly, you know what give me a holler means. Look me up. I'm around and maybe we can help you. So I'm going to let my father sing us out of here. Katie, let it rip, baby.
Turn me around, help me to the door. I'll never make it on my own.